famous song. Thanks for clicking on this little YouTube video. Let's chat about a little show he's been watching. So what you been watching?
Sonic the Hedgehog is one of gaming's most iconic characters, and after tearing the video game industry up for generations in the best and worst ways possible, he has tackled the big screen. He has tackled cinemas, not once but twice and soon to be 3 times. What is left to do than take on television? And I don't mean anime, because Sonic X, that's the thing, that's slap. There are Sonic shows, but live action Sonic for the first time ever is gonna happen. And during the second Sonic movie, when Deputy Cop Wade Whipple was making a fool of himself, never did I think, oh man, he needs his own TV show with Knuckles. But someone did, and that's how we got the Paramount 6-episode miniseries, Knuckles. When we last saw Sonic and the gang, Knuckles has assimilated into human Earth culture, and as you can probably guess, it's not as easy for him. He doesn't understand human customs as well. He's tearing up the living room, turning it into a battle zone. He's taking out the local handymen like they're warriors on a battlefield. But then he finds himself finding his own human companion, just like Sonic. He finds Wade Whipple, and together they are going to go on a quest. Oh, I don't know why I'm trying to give a synopsis of this show. This show is stupid. And don't get me wrong, it knows very well it's stupid. It takes a lot of the very childish, very goofy humor from the Sonic movies, and I would say it even dials it up. I actually really do like those Sonic movies. It's a little bit based in nostalgic. I think me, like a lot of kids, liked Sonic at one point. I played a lot of Sonic Adventure 2 and watched Sonic X. I was all over it at that time. So when they pulled on those strings during those films, I really enjoyed them, and they seem to have a little bit of love for the source material, but they're also packed with a lot of really dumb writing, and it went through a pretty gross Hollywood filter. Same way I feel about the Mario movie. It's a really good movie, it just goes through the generic Hollywood filter of today's films, which is to be expected. But with the miniseries, the cuffs are off. You can do a lot of things with it. Not only that, but Knuckles, Idris Elba's Knuckles, was a very beloved character. This could have been a recipe for success. But that's when you remember every moment Knuckles is on screen, he's just draining money out of the pockets of the studio. Like the first episode, Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles are all on screen. That first episode was way better than the rest of the series. After the first episode, I was like, yeah, I think this will be a good watch. And by episode like 3, I was just like, oh god, how much longer do we have to go? I'm not saying the show is terrible, but it does start to become a drag. The more silly it gets, the more goofy it becomes. So in order to not have Knuckles be on screen, pretty much Wade Wibble, is that his name? Have I been saying his name wrong this whole time? Wade is pretty much the main character of the entire series. There are episodes where he has to like save Knuckles. Knuckles is off screen most of the episode. And I swear half of the jokes of this series is just how much of a loser Wade is. And it gets like really dumb. There's like an episode where I swear half the episode is like a fever dream of Wade. He's in like a Knuckles costume, and they're like in an old 80s rock music video, and Michael Bolton is playing. It gets really dumb. Like, they are going for it. And I could clown on this series, but there are some moments that made me laugh. Again, like when Wade is trying to save Knuckles, there's like this whole montage. There's a lot of like 80s movie parodies. It's a montage of him going to the store to gather the equipment. The payoff for that joke was great. I laughed at a joke about Kevin James, and none of those jokes even hit as hard as just seeing Knuckles, fully rendered Knuckles, in what looks to be my grandmother's home, just sitting on the couch. It's adorable. He wears his little cowboy hat at one point. Those are my favorite moments of the show. And I didn't think a show about Knuckles would have a lot of 80s love, but they packed out the soundtrack. There's a lot of parody humor from 80s film, and even the cast, which the cast is great, by the way. Wade's mom, probably the funniest character in the show. His sister, although, again, the writing is really hard to work with for the show, but she does her best and she goes all in on it, but you know, it gets too dumb sometimes. Wade, same deal with him. Some jokes land, but some are just impossible to land. Kid Cudi is in this show. He's like one of the henchmen, and he's doing the goofiest performance I've ever seen him do. I just watched the movie X, where he's like a male porn star. So, considering I'd never seen this man act, and this is like my 1-2 punch of seeing him perform, wild experience. The Hound from Game of Thrones is kind of like the main villain for the show, but not really. To be honest, without Jim Carrey, a lot of the humor of this series really doesn't work. A lot of the other performances, it's just hard to make land without him. Another big part of why I love the movies is that there's definitely some people on the crew who really love Sonic. But whenever you focused on the humans during those movies, that's when it was at its lowest. And that's like the main point of the show. There's more of that than Sonic stuff. There is more like weird 80s love than Sonic stuff. There's more dumb writing than Sonic stuff. Like, they have their Easter egg, but you're gonna make a show about Knuckles and not have one reference to Pumpkin Hill? Are you kidding me? The show is not trying to take the movies to the next level. It is very much just trying to be a side project. It is trying to be easygoing, not take itself seriously. It's going to be silly, dumb. That just turns the entire story inconsequential. Knuckles doesn't have that big of an arc. Wade's arc is about having daddy issues that he overcomes. There is very little achieved with this show, and with 6 episodes and one of the most iconic characters in gaming, yes, even Knuckles is one of the most iconic characters in gaming, once the credits have rolled, I feel like very little has happened. Like, my wife and I, when we saw the trailer, we were pretty excited because a lot of the other shows, like The Boys and Invincible, like there's only so many shows we can watch with my newborn son. And I was like, oh, Knuckles, this is gonna be great. But again, halfway through this show, I was so ready to be done with it. But as many small little moments there are just as many moments that annoy me and kind of offend me. Because again, this is going through the exact same weird Hollywood filter as the movies, but now it's just on a streaming service. Like, if someone told me this show was complete ass, I wouldn't disagree with them. If someone was like, I thought it was pretty damn good, like, I wouldn't disagree with them either. For me, personally, it lands directly in the middle of that. For me, Knuckles, I'm going to give a 5 out of 10. I assume part of the purpose for the show was to set up the next movie, like Sonic 3. They're gonna cover Shadow. It's gonna be the best thing ever, and I was waiting for my little spoon-fed Easter egg, but that never happened. As unnecessary as Easter egg culture is, at least like that in some twisted way has a purpose, but with this show, it doesn't do that, and ultimately what I'm left with is a mediocre show that does nothing. Anyway, that's all I got for this one. Thank you for watching, and with that,
I ain't gonna let it get to me, I'm just gonna creep down in Pumpkin Hill. I got to find my lost piece. I know that it's here, I can sense it in my feet. The great emerald's power allows me to feel. I can't see a thing, but it's around somewhere. I'm gonna hold my